One of the greatest challenges in the advocacy space, specifically sa advocacy on adoption, is it's very new and very countercultural. Adoption at the moment is not a widely known or widely practiced culture here in the Philippines. So it really takes a lot of guts, takes a lot of courage to go against what culture says when it comes to orphan children, vulnerable children, adoption, foster care. Because again, these are not things that naturally Filipinos think about or explore.
Ako nga po pala si Brother Angelo. Nakatira dito sa bahay Ampunan ni Jesus Maria Jose. Simula pagkabata, 7 years old hanggang 19. Nagsimula sa una, 7 years old nga po. At yung father ko po kasi pinatay po. Sa sarili, sinaksak po sa harapan po. Yung nanay ko po nag-ibang asawa. Yung mga tita ko po, hindi po maganda ang pagtrato sa akin. Kaya nag-less din po ako, natira po ko sa lansangan. Tapos, ba't sabi ko, ba't parang naiiba, parang hindi ako pinapabayaan ni Lord. Na kahit tumira ako sa kalsada, hindi ako nasama sa mga drug addict.
Ako nga po si Jean Paul Molina po. Nagawa ko po dito pagdasal, tumulong po sa mga bata, tapos palapit po sa Diyos. Bulacan po. Ito po nakatira, tapos nilipat po kami nun tapos nawala po ako nun Kasi po, lumabas po ako nun bahay. Mga 8 pa po ako nun. Hindi na po ako nakabalik. Meron pong nakapulit po sa akin, isa pong matandang babae po. Taga doon din po sa Bulacan din po. Pinakain, niguruguan. Pinanood po ng TV. Kinabukasan po, na po ako sa Bulacan. Umpunan po sa Pulalas Bulacan po. Mga magulang ko po. Wala na po akong balita kasi baka hinahanap po ako. Hindi lang po ako natagpuan. Sabi ko po sa sarili ko na okay na po yun. Na po yun napatawad ko na po sila. Meron pong din dati ampunan po, mga bata po. Mga brothers po kami. Lahat po kami. Sa awa po ng Diyos, yun. Napabuti po yung kalagayan namin dito. Tapos, ayun po, po ako, napag-aral dito. Mabuti. Po ngayon ako, in 11 po. Senior high.
Nagpapasalamat din po kami na dito kami nakapunta. Kasi yun po yung kalooban ng Diyos. Kasi kung hindi po namin nahanap si Kristo at hindi po namin baka mapariwara po buhay namin.
Well, your quick Google search will tell you that there's 1.8 million orphans in the Philippines. But that number actually represents those who have lost a parent or both parents. So you're not yet counting vulnerable children at large. You're not yet counting those who experience abuse or neglect in their home or in their community. And if we were to count that number, we're closer to 6 to 8 million children who experience that. And that's really something that we're only now discovering. And so there is huge urgency to respond to the needs of those children and to spare them from further, trauma. Which is why it really is an orphan crisis. It's no longer an issue or a trend or a passing, news. But it's really a crisis. And it's only gonna grow if we don't step in. If it's only gonna grow in the years to come if there are not enough interventions to place children back into healthy and loving families. Before, our definition of orphanhood was simply the loss of a parent or loss of both parents, and that's how we defined orphans. I mean, that's the dictionary definition of what an orphan is. Over time, we find that there are different factors why a child becomes vulnerable. And they may not be physical orphans, meaning their parents are actually around, they actually have relatives around, but they're very vulnerable to neglect and abuse. And so, more and more, we're finding that in our country, this is becoming true by way of neglect and abuse. And abuse also takes on different shapes and forms. But one of the most pressing ones recently is the online sexual exploitation and abuse of children, which, in the eyes of other people, might not be exactly abuse because the perpetrators, they're not physically in the same room with the children because it's online. But the trauma that that causes and the damage that that causes on the children is very, very grave and even more harmful than physical abuse or verbal abuse or, however we define abuse. But that's a very shocking number, a very shocking statistic that the Philippines has become the global epicenter of that crime. And it's a multi-billion-dollar industry that Filipino children fuel by way of their own relatives. And 80% of the time, it's their relatives facilitating these transactions. And that's the kind of world that, Filipino children are now living in. And they're very vulnerable to that. And so, again, that goes to show that orphanhood does not just mean the death of a parent or the loss of your parents, but actually the loss of the function of a parent that should be there for this child.
My name is Maria Isabel de Guzmantica. Everybody calls me Isa. And I have 6, 7, 8 plus children. Explanation yan later. And I am actually a licensed teacher and a social worker. I first met Charlie in 2016 during a youth camp that we had, and we invited several boys from a specific government institution, and he was the youngest amongst all the 25 boys. And nung time na yon, during the camp, we had so many kids with us. There were about 400 kids. Pero na-catch yung attention ko kasi at first, of course, there were only 25 from the institution, and then he got himself into trouble. So when he got into trouble, syempre all eyes were on him, no? And nung time na yon, I was thinking, hindi to bad boy. Sabi ko, this isn't a bad boy. He's acting on survival mode siya. Na-break yung heart ko for him. So when he was about to leave, go back to the institution where he had been staying for about almost 10 years by that time, parang my heart went with him nung umalis siya. So I wanted to see more of him and also with the other boys that were with him at that time. So yun yung first introduction ko sa kanya. The inspiration came from him. Hindi namin inisip to foster or adopt. Having my own biological children, I had 6 by that time. So hindi po namin iniisip yon. But when I saw him, that was the first time na talaga I really seriously considered fostering. Kasi when we say foster care, temporary lang po talaga yan. But kaya fostering because it was the easier route, but the idea was to really adopt him. And by the time we came to that point that we were considering fostering to adopt, we came to know na meron din pala siyang full biological brother who was with him doon sa loob ng institution. So, dahil doon, sabi ko, syempre madami kang fears, madami kang hesitations, pero the heart was there. It was solid. Kaya lang nga, madami kang mga things na you had to consider pa. So, yun. But tuloy-tuloy na from that time on.
Hi, my name is Charles Tika, and I'm 22 years old. Ano po, ayun, parang normal na pamumuhay lang. Merong libreng school sa loob, tapos doon may food na rin kami. May nag-aalaga sa amin na tawag namin house parents. So like, pwede namin silang tawaging nanay, tatay, ganun. So, yun, normal na umuwi na isang bata sa loob ng institution. Sa akin po, personally, bilang bata po na lumaki sa institution, syempre, doon na talaga ako, like, totally lumaki at namuhay na rin sa loob. Tapos, ako, nung bata ako, like, meron kasi kami TV doon na, like, pag nanonood ako ng mga palabas, nakikita ko yung ibang bata, may nanay at tatay sila. So, yun, nagkaroon po ako ng sariling mag-aalaga sa akin na nanay at tatay. Kumbaga, parang sobrang laking ano sa akin nun. Malaking parang yung pinapangarap ko natupad na ganun.
Initially, nung naririnig ko yung term na foster, ang iniisip ko babies. Kaya when we were first introduced to foster care in 2012, kasi I met Charlie 2016, so 4 years gap, no? Tapos, yung one specific organization that advocates for foster care, talagang we're always with them kasi lagi nilang sinishare yung kanilang advocacy sa mga events namin sa church. Pero I never really considered it kasi nga, una, I had 6 biological kids of my own. Tapos, inisip ko talaga, baby, I was done with that changing diapers. So, parang sa akin talaga, hindi. And then, alam ko din na ang foster care is temporary. So, hindi ko siya talaga kinonsider. As far as adoption, although I know here in the Philippines, there's this stigma against adoption, no? Pero sa akin, hindi ko nakita yon kasi growing up, my own sister, although she is my blood sister, half-sister ko siya, but she was legally adopted by my mom. So, it's not something new sa amin. And I also have cousins who were adopted. So, it wasn't a bad thing for me. Sanay ako. So, it was common sa family namin. First steps that we took was just between my husband and I. Ayaw namin i-mention kahit kanino. And my husband being a pastor, so syempre sa amin talagang we really had to pray about it first. So, it was just between us and then our children. Ayaw namin paalam sa iba kasi nga, because of the stigma of adoption, yung decision namin, we had to be solid as a family lang. Whether it be negative or positive, ayaw namin ng influence from the outside na later on, baka pagsisihan namin kasi pinakinggan namin yung mga boses ng tagalabas. So kung may sisisihin kami, wala, kundi kami lang, right? At that time kasi, Charlie was 12, 13 years old. Although hindi, you know, in the Philippines, you have the stigma against na nga adoption. And then much more adopting an older child. When we talk about adoption here in the Philippines, majority will want to adopt a baby. Kasi ang iniisip nila, tabula rasa, wala pang alam tong batang ito, whatever this child learns, it's all going to come from me, right? But wrong, it's not true. Kasi you have the genes, you know.
The children who age out of institutional care, just by way of their status in society, really are alone. There's no legal ties made with a specific family member. And that's really something that is a struggle for an individual, right? To have no one to be legally tied to no one. How that translates to culture, or even to just lifestyle, is these children typically don't have anyone to call in times of crisis. No one to teach them the template of what a family should be like. But fortunately, there are communities who are little by little stepping in to say, we'll adopt, in a way, kind of organically take in these youth who have aged out of this care. And, we'll do what we can to provide their needs, and we'll do what we can to journey with them. But still, it's a national concern, because there has never been anything in law, in terms of responding to that next phase of these children's lives.
You just love them the way you love your children, your own biological children. Uh, and nakasanayan na rin namin because, growing up in the church and serving in the church, you serve other people. Hindi ka nagbibigay ng limitations, walang conditions, just like your own biological children, walang conditions. So when we took them in, no return, no exchange. Parang sarili mong anak, kahit mahirap, yan na yun. So ikaw ang mag-make ng adjustments for them. So yung number one, when it comes to getting along with their other siblings, yung decision to foster and adopt, like I said, although sa batas kasi, whether it be foster or adoption, your children, your biological children, 10 years old and above, have to agree. You have to have an affidavit na nagsasabing they understand and they agree. So, pero sa amin, even yung kids namin below 10 years old, we came with a unified decision that we were going to do this. So that helped. And then another thing, kasi nga my kids grew up in a culture, the church culture, where grandparents pa lang nila are always helping other people. So hindi naging ganon ka-drastic yung adjustment. We always have people in our home. Mga batang minsan, pag wala yung mga magulang, nasa amin, alagaan namin. So hindi naging ganon kahirap. Although, syempre, ibang usapan na when you have to share your room, you have to share your space, your privacy. You have to share your parents with 2 other boys. Blessed ako because my kids are very giving sila. And in fact, Charlie didn't mention earlier, maybe siguro it's still difficult for him. I remember in one interview he was asked, sabi niya, grabe yung timing ni Lord. Kasi by the time God took Ernie home, sobrang attached niya with siblings niya that he never felt na nawalan siya, na mag-isa na lang siya. Kasi yung relationship niya with siblings niya, strong na. And he said, when God took my brother home, sabi niya in one interview, when God took my brother home, I had my other brothers with me and my ate and my mom and my dad.
Ako po, siguro sa akin po, mas naging easier sa akin na mas maging close sa kanila. Since yung iba ko pong mga kapatid, halos magkakalapit lang po kami ng age. So, di po nagkakalay yung age namin. Ganun po kami kabilis. Mas naging mag-close sa isa't isa. Kaya hindi po sa akin mas naging mahirap. Pati, ako po, kung sa relationship ko po kay Maatda, sa akin, hindi rin po ganun kahirap kasi kumbaga parang pinapalaas sila yung loob ko na mas maging open sa kanila.
Now we're finding more and more evidence that family-based care really is the right response to vulnerable children. That's not to say that children's homes or institutional care is not needed, because there is just so many needs. You have, children that need to be rescued immediately. You have children that we need to spare of different types of harms in the world around them. And that's why we need children's homes. That's why we need institutions, with the right systems, with the right interventions, with the capacity to house these children immediately. And that's their role. But unfortunately, here in the Philippines, or maybe even in other parts of the world, we stop there. That as long as they're fed, as long as they have shelter, maybe even good education, we don't need to step any more further than that. But now we're finding through evidence, through data and statistics, that that's simply the first step. To keep them out of harm is the first step, because really the goal in mind is to place them back in family, whether that's restoring their biological family and really stepping in and intervening to make that family a healthy and whole family, or finding adoptive and foster families for these children. And so data would prove, science would prove that the one-on-one care really is what children were designed for. And it's not, one social worker will care for a room of 30 children, 30 babies who have individual needs, who need, eye contact and healthy touch and things like that. That simply will not address those needs. But that's where families, whether biological or, new adoptive and foster families, can step in in providing the care that these children need.
couples or families who consider adoption, they consider adoption kasi wala silang sariling anak. But when you adopt, it's not really about you in fulfilling that need in you. No? Lalo na pag mom ka, no? Sinasabi nila, not unless you become a mother, hindi ka fulfilled woman. So, kaya sila nag-a-adopt kasi gusto na ma-experience being a fulfilled woman. Pero when you adopt, it's not satisfying that longing in your heart, but it's more of meeting the needs of the children wanting to have families. Madaming mga kids na naghihintay na magkaroon ng pamilya.
Now, we're in conversation with our leaders and our government offices on how not just to address adoption and foster care, but really go further upstream and address how to strengthen families in general. Because this is something that doesn't just affect those who are orphaned or those who are vulnerable, but every Filipino child should have the same design of family be implemented for them. You know, we have to have the same resources available to all families. And so we're now finding that in conversation with them, there is openness to improve what strengthening families would look like, whether that's writing into policy, resources and trainings to be made available to parents, to be made available to families in the barangay level, the local government unit level, and so that's something that we look forward to seeing happen in our cities, because we think that will greatly affect the future families in these different places.